Chosen one.
Capricorn.
Miracle transfer. Will shock everyone. Abundance is yours. In a season defined by divine timing and irreversible breakthroughs, the spiritual gates have opened wide. The miracle transfer ordained for you has already been written into the blueprint of your legacy. What is arriving will not be ordinary, explainable, or quiet. It will be loud. It will be public. It will be impossible to ignore. This is no longer just about receiving. This is about the demonstration of abundance that will leave the world in awe. God is moving, and His movement is your miracle. The wait is over. The world is about to witness the result of God's undeniable hand on your life. Watch this video until the very end, chosen one. And write your warmest wishes, and write 99 in the comments to energize the universe and prepare your spirit for what's coming. This is more than a message. It's an activation of all that's been promised to you. It's a transfer, and it's flowing into your life now. Now, chosen one, press the hype button under the video, and like this video, subscribe if you haven't subscribed to the channel, and let's begin. The atmosphere is different now. Everything around you may look the same on the surface. Routine faces, familiar surroundings, predictable noises of the world moving. But something in the spirit has shifted. A divine transfer has been initiated, and although the news hasn't been announced in the natural yet, the heavens have already signed and sealed what is being delivered to you. This is not a transaction that will blend into the background. This is not a blessing that slips in unnoticed. This miracle transfer is designed to disrupt the ordinary with the extraordinary. And chosen one, you're at the center of it. It's time to align with the magnitude of what's being released. If you feel a stirring inside you, that's not anxiety. It's spiritual recognition. Something within you is responding to what's approaching. That's why you're here. That's why you're listening. That's why you're still holding on when everything around you seemed to say, give up. Before you go any further, write your warmest wishes in the comments and comment the number 99. That single act is not just engagement, it is an energetic agreement with your breakthrough. The transfer is real, and it's being energized through belief, intention, and alignment. God has been quietly orchestrating behind the scenes while you were navigating unknowns. He never left. Not when the numbers didn't add up. Not when the doors didn't open. Not when the answers didn't come. He remained, not to remind you of delay, but to anchor you in timing. Because what is being transferred to you was never meant to come early or late. It was appointed, it was scheduled, and the hour for release is now. But let this be known, this transfer will shock everyone. Not because they didn't think you were worthy, but because they underestimated what God had written over your life. There were those who saw your stillness as stagnation. They mistook your silence as surrender. They believed your waiting season was a waste. But the truth is, you were not stuck. You were being reserved for something that could not be rushed, replicated, or reduced. The miracle itself is layered. It's not a singular deposit. It's a multidimensional overflow. It touches your finances, yes, but it also stretches into influence, restoration, elevation, and divine visibility. This transfer does not just drop something into your life. It alters the trajectory of your life, and that's why it's going to shock them, because they thought you'd have a minor breakthrough. They never expected this kind of wealth, this kind of glory, this kind of manifestation. Chosen one, there is something God is about to do that even you don't have language for yet. There's an amount, a moment, a magnitude that cannot be fully comprehended before it arrives. But just because you haven't seen it yet, doesn't mean it hasn't been moving toward you. The silence was never absence. It was strategy. The lack of evidence was not a denial. It was divine preparation. You've been walking through rooms where you felt invisible, but the next room is where your name will be highlighted. The announcement is going to echo far louder than the waiting ever did. There is a reason your spirit has been restless. There is a reason your dreams have intensified. There is a reason your discernment is sharper than it used to be. These are the signs of proximity. Miracles don't just drop. They warn those they are coming for. God doesn't surprise his chosen with glory. He prepares them. You're not confused. You're being aligned. And this alignment is the final step before abundance flows in undeniable form. This transfer is not for show. It is for shift. It is God's way of correcting every narrative that made you seem small. It is heaven's justice for every delay that was caused by sabotage, rejection, or misjudgment. The shock isn't just about how much you'll receive. It's about how quickly and publicly it will arrive. This transfer will not trickle in. It will pour. It will break cycles. It will alter history. You've been hidden for a reason. Not because you weren't ready, but because the world wasn't. They weren't prepared to witness a life so radically changed by God's power that no credit could go to anything else. No degree, no resume, no sponsor, no platform. Just God. That's the kind of miracle that shocks, because it is undeniable. It silences doubt. It rewrites assumptions. It confronts the comfortable with the truth that God still moves in ways that are unexplainable. And when it happens, it won't just be about what you have. It will be about who you've become in the process. God is not just transferring things into your hands. He's transferring weight into your spirit. The abundance is not only material, it is spiritual. It is mental clarity, emotional healing, restored confidence, supernatural insight, and the capacity to hold everything he's about to release. This is why you had to be broken in ways that made no sense. This is why your timeline didn't match anyone else's. Because what you're about to carry is not average. It's not small. It's not basic. And it couldn't be placed in an unprepared vessel. Your past wasn't punishment. It was preparation. Your rejection wasn't loss. It was redirection. Every disappointment wasn't a denial. It was divine design. And now, you're standing at the edge of transfer. Not a theoretical one, not a symbolic one, but a real, tangible, measurable, and miraculous shift that will redefine how people see you, and more importantly, how you see yourself. You won't just receive this transfer. You'll wear it. You'll walk in it. You'll become the embodiment of God's favor in motion. You'll be the proof. Let them be shocked. Let them question how it happened. Let them debate whether you deserved it. Because it won't matter. The evidence will speak louder than any doubt. The abundance will silence every critic. And the glow of God's glory on your life will say what words never could. This was divine. This miracle transfer is not just a moment. It's a movement. It's not just for this week. It's the opening of a new chapter. And abundance is not the end goal. It's the starting point. Everything changes from here. The air has shifted, not just around you, but for you. There's a divine signal being released from heaven, and even if your natural eyes haven't seen the deposit, your spirit has already received the confirmation. Something in you knows this isn't just another week, another month, another delay. This is the turning point. The moment where all the quiet waiting finally becomes a public celebration. The miracle transfer is not just near, it has arrived. And its arrival will shake the very ground beneath every outdated expectation placed on your life. This is the kind of transfer that turns watchers into witnesses. It leaves no space for speculation or vague assumptions. When it falls with clarity. When it shows up, it shows off. Not for arrogance, but for awareness. So that all who said it wouldn't happen can see that God never stopped planning it. The shock isn't because you're unworthy. The shock is because people calculated your value using visible variables, education, status, resources, but they forgot to factor in favor. Favor is what reroutes. Favor is what overrules. Favor is what reverses outcomes that were locked in. God didn't consult the opinions of your past when he scripted this blessing. He only looked at your future, and he saw what you couldn't. That you were born for more, that you would carry more, that you could handle more. And now, that more is finding its way to you like a rushing current, not to destroy what was, but to build what's next. There will be those who see your miracle and say it was luck. Others may try to dismiss it as coincidence. But the ones who've watched your tears, who've seen your private battles, who knew what it took just to wake up and keep moving, they'll know. They'll recognize that this kind of blessing can't be bought, predicted, or explained. It is divine. It is miraculous. It is a God transfer. And the moment it lands, everything adjusts. Not just in your environment, but in your identity. You'll no longer walk through doors wondering if you belong. You'll no longer question whether you were meant to thrive. The shock will be in how swiftly the scales tip, how instantly your lack transforms into legacy. This isn't just about having abundance. It's about becoming abundance. So full that you spill over onto everyone around you. So whole that your life becomes a testimony without speaking. This miracle is going to confront every narrative that tried to define you by struggle. It will erase every mental tally of what you've lost. It will untangle every knot of confusion about why it took this long. Because the moment the transfer hits, you'll know why it had to be now. Why it had to be God. Why it had to be you. There is no other explanation that will suffice. There is no other force that could have pulled you through. And it's not coming through traditional channels. That's what makes this transfer so powerful. It doesn't flow through the systems they expect. God is bypassing the usual. He's skipping the predictable. He's rerouting the supernatural through avenues no one can block. This is why nothing before worked the way you wanted it to. Because it wasn't meant to work until now. The struggle was never a sign of punishment. It was a signal that the miracle required an uninterrupted path. That interruption is over. The divine obstruction has been removed. And now, the miracle is being transferred. Piece by piece, moment by moment, wave after wave, every blocked opportunity is being replaced with overflow. Every denied application is being rewritten with access. Every no is being corrected with abundance. You're not climbing up anymore. You're being carried. This is a transfer designed to elevate not just your life, but your frequency. The conversations around you will change. The rooms you're invited into will shift. The level of authority you carry will rise. And the magnitude of what God places in your hands will demand new levels of responsibility, not as a burden, but as a crown. And the shock? It's not just in the what, it's in the who. Because no one expected you to be the one. They weren't watching you. They were watching others. They assumed the spotlight was reserved for someone more obvious, more loud, more visible. But God specializes in selecting the unexpected. He chooses the hidden. He exalts the overlooked. And now, the one they ignored is the one God is highlighting. This transfer isn't just to reward your patience. It's to establish a new order. Your miracle is the evidence that heaven does not play by earth's rules. That God can move faster than policies, stronger than institutions, and with more precision than timing itself. You are about to carry proof of what it means to receive from God directly. No filter, no confusion, no middleman. It's going to change the rhythm of your life. You'll stop bracing for lack. You'll stop budgeting your joy. You'll stop tiptoeing through opportunities afraid they'll vanish. Because once God transfers this into your life, it cannot be taken. It's irreversible. It's sealed. It's anointing in motion. And no force of delay, deception, or darkness can undo what God has decided to release. Let that truth anchor you. Not just for today, but for the moments ahead where the transfer begins to show up piece by piece. You'll recognize it in the phone call you weren't expecting, the opportunity you didn't apply for, the yes that overrides the years of silence, the alignment of resources, relationships, and revelations that couldn't have possibly come from anything but divine coordination. And when people begin to notice, when they see the glow, the growth, the grace, they'll ask, how? And your answer won't be rehearsed. it'll be revealed. Because the miracle itself will be your message. Not a sermon, not a strategy, just evidence. Living, breathing, undeniable evidence that when God transfers something into a life, it changes everything. There is a moment in every divine story where silence breaks. Not gently, not subtly, but like thunder cracking the sky after a long drought. And this moment, chosen one, is that moment for you. What you are stepping into is not just favor. It's a complete divine reversal. A reversal of every limitation that once blocked your access. A reversal of every false label that once confined you. A reversal of every structure that once told you no when heaven had already whispered yes. The miracle transfer that is flowing into your life right now is not an extension of your past. It is the beginning of something that has never existed before, not in your family line, not in your city, not even in your imagination. This is a first-time flow, something ancient in its origin, but fresh in its manifestation. And that's why it will shock everyone who once thought they knew your story. They only saw what was written in previous chapters. They never anticipated how radically the plot would shift. You are not being given just enough. You are being trusted with abundance. And this abundance is not just material. It's spiritual substance. It's wealth that touches your destiny. It's overflow that expands your reach. It's influence that elevates your voice. When God moves like this, He doesn't just deposit into your hands. He rewrites the atmosphere around you. He alters what responds to you. He shifts what opens when you arrive. Because the miracle is not just what you carry. It's who you become while carrying it. This transfer doesn't arrive like a package dropped at your doorstep. No, it arrives like a kingdom invasion. It doesn't blend in, it takes over. And not just in the physical realm, but in the unseen realm too. Spiritual doors are opening right now in your name. Gatekeepers who once overlooked you are being instructed to notice you. Rooms that once denied you are being realigned to receive you. And positions that were already filled are being emptied, because God has chosen you to sit there. This is why the delay was so long. This is why the resistance was so intense. The longer the delay, the larger the deposit. The greater the resistance, the more powerful the release. You weren't being punished. You were being preserved. Because when heaven moves like this, it doesn't release small promises. It releases estates. It releases territory. It releases legacy. And for that kind of transfer, preparation is not optional. It is required. So if your journey has felt like years of silence and testing, it's only because God was preparing the vessel for what couldn't be poured into anyone else. You, chosen one, are not replaceable. You were tailor-made for this miracle. Your spirit was chosen. Your frequency was aligned. Your season was calculated with precision. And now, the fullness of time has arrived. But the miracle won't look like what others receive. And that's intentional. Because your story was never meant to be a copy. It was always meant to be a demonstration. A walking display of what happens when divine favor overrides human forecast. Others may receive promotion, but you're receiving positioning. Others may receive increase, but you're receiving inheritance. Others may receive breakthrough, but you're receiving the blueprint. This is not just reward, it's reordering. God has flipped the page, and what you thought was the ending of your story is about to become the headline of the miracle. This transfer will be the evidence that none of the delay was wasted, that every quiet prayer, every silent tear, every invisible battle was counted. And now, heaven is issuing the return, not with interest, but with abundance that exceeds the cost. And what's remarkable is this: the people who will be most shocked by your miracle are not your enemies. They are your observers, the quiet watchers, the ones who said nothing, but secretly wondered when your life would bloom. They didn't oppose you, but they didn't support you either. They lived in the in-between. But now, they will be forced to acknowledge that something far greater than effort brought this miracle into your life. That this abundance is not the result of hustle or luck. It is heaven's fingerprint. Chosen one, the miracle transfer is about more than personal elevation. It's about divine evidence. And the evidence will be so undeniable, so irrefutable, that even those who once ignored your journey will have to acknowledge your calling. This is what makes the miracle so different. It doesn't just lift you up. It redefines what others thought was even possible. The very systems that once boxed you out will now need you to sit at the table. The very people who once doubted your value will be moved to honor your voice. Not because you asked, but because heaven commanded it. And when God commands, no man can contradict. This is how the miracle will shock the world. It will not come with warnings. It will not come with explanations. It will come like sudden rain after a dry season, unexpected, refreshing, and impossible to ignore. The kind of rain that forces everything around it to respond. The kind of abundance that cannot be hidden, even if you tried. You may have spent years trying to stay humble in the shadows, trying not to call too much attention to yourself, trying to stay quiet so you wouldn't ruffle feathers. But this next move of God is going to push you into the spotlight. Not for fame, not for followers, but because what's on you must be seen. The miracle is not just for your comfort. It's for confirmation that God still chooses, still calls, still elevates the ones least expected. This is why your miracle will be public. Because your process was private, and God is a God of balance. What was done in secret will be rewarded out loud. What was endured behind closed doors will be answered on open stages. Not because you need validation, but because the message needs visibility. And now, the visibility is coming. Not as noise, but as weight. Not as attention, but as anointing. Not as spectacle, but as substance. The miracle is not just for people to see you differently. It's for you to see yourself rightly. To understand that you were never behind. You were hidden. And now, the covering is lifting, and the miracle is stepping forward, wearing your name. The shock will not be in your arrival. The shock will be in the scale of what you're carrying, in the depth of the favor, in the speed of the shift. It will all happen so fast that even you will look around and wonder, is this real? And it will be, because God did it, and He's not done. The sound of heaven is no longer a whisper. It is a roar, and it is announcing something the world didn't anticipate. You. For too long, you were in rooms where your voice felt like an echo, spaces where your potential was muted and your value was misjudged. But the miracle transfer that is entering your life is going to make sure that silence is broken. Not just broken, it's going to be replaced by a sound that carries weight. A sound that echoes in boardrooms, in banks, in nations, in generations. The sound of a divine transfer arriving on time. And that arrival will not be quiet. It will not be small. It will not be hidden. Because the whole point of this transfer is visibility. God is not just pouring into your life. He is broadcasting it. Not for applause, but for awareness. So that the very same people who witnessed your wilderness will also witness your wonder. This is how God rewrites legacies. Not in the dark, but in the spotlight. But not everyone will understand it. Some will try to explain it away. Others will try to downplay it. But there will be no denying what has happened. Because the change won't just be in your status. It will be in your aura, in the way you speak, in the way doors open, in the way atmospheres respond when you walk in. It will be undeniable. Because when God transfers something into your life, He doesn't just touch your bank account. He touches your presence. There is a new realm of authority being released with this miracle. And it's not because of what you've done. It's because of what you've carried. You've carried disappointment without bitterness. You've carried isolation without resentment. You've carried delay without disbelief. And for that, heaven has marked you. Not as a survivor, but as a distributor of wealth, of wisdom, of spiritual truth, of breakthrough for others. That's what makes this miracle transfer different. It's not for you alone. It's a signal. It's a public marker that a shift has begun. That God is reassigning influence, replanting favor, and reestablishing new kings and queens in the earth. Not from palaces, but from the most unlikely places. And you are one of them. Not by chance, not by vote, but by divine decree. What's arriving will require new levels of thinking, new habits, new language. Not because you're changing who you are, but because you're stepping into who you were always meant to be. The old identity can't hold this kind of wealth. The old mindset can't manage this kind of increase. And the old posture cannot carry this kind of glory. And that's the real miracle. Not just what's coming to you, but what's rising within you. You are becoming the person that the promise requires. You are becoming the vessel that the vision demands. And in doing so, you are becoming the shock to the world. Not because you're loud, not because you're flashy, but because your fruit will speak louder than your words ever could. You will walk in rooms where people don't understand how you got there, but they won't be able to deny that you belong. You will carry contracts, keys, codes, and covenants that no man can reverse. Not because you manipulated your way in, but because you were summoned by heaven. This is not strategy. This is sovereignty. And that sovereignty is on full display now. The transfer is not waiting anymore. It's moving. And with every moment, it's overtaking places that once held lack, pain, confusion, or waiting. What was once hard will now flow. What was once blocked will now break open. What was once empty will now overflow. You may feel the trembling inside you. That's not fear. That's your spirit stretching to receive what's been released. That trembling is recognition. Your soul knows it's close. Your soul knows the promise is now. And every part of you that stayed faithful in drought will now dance in the deluge. Because this miracle is not a drizzle, it's a flood. Not to drown you, but to elevate you. Elevation is not about applause. It's about altitude. And the altitude you're being lifted to is one where oxygen is rare, because few have been chosen to fly this high. But you, chosen one, were not created to stay grounded. You were wired for the sky, and this miracle transfer is the wind that is about to take you there. And yes, the shock will come. It will come when they see you in places they never thought you'd enter. It will come when they hear your name mentioned in rooms they tried to keep closed. It will come when they realize that the same person they counted out has now been counted on by God. That's the kind of reversal that heaven specializes in. That's the kind of moment that no earthly hand can stop. This miracle is not just the fulfillment of your prayers. It is the redirection of spiritual power. It is the release of generational restoration. It is the repair of what was broken before you were even born. And you are the chosen carrier of that miracle. Not because of what you have, but because of who you are. And because of that identity, because of that divine assignment, you are not stepping into a blessing. You are becoming the blessing. You are becoming the living proof that God can still do the impossible, still reverse the unthinkable, still release abundance in places that once echoed with nothing but silence. And you don't need to announce it. The miracle will do that for you. The miracle that is being transferred into your life now is not arriving as an isolated moment. It's a divine chain reaction. One release triggers another. One door opens 5 more. One yes echoes into corridors that were once silent. This transfer is God's signal that the drought has ended, not just in one area, but across the entire terrain of your destiny. And just like that, the ground is no longer dry. The rain is not just falling, it's responding to your alignment. And that's what this miracle is tied to. Alignment. Because you didn't chase validation. You didn't sell yourself to systems. You didn't try to manipulate timing. You waited. You believed. You stood when standing cost you everything. And for that, God has chosen now to place what others tried to hoard right into your hands. This transfer is heaven's reply to your consistency, and it's going to be so abundant, so undeniable, so transformational, that even those who never looked your way before will have to pause and recognize the divine in motion. This abundance is not just excess, it's evidence. It speaks where you don't have to. It moves where your feet haven't even arrived yet. It prepares atmospheres before you walk in. That's why this transfer is going to shock everyone. It redefines what they thought your ceiling was. It breaks the scale. It defies expectation. It silences the narrative that said, "They're not ready," or "They'll never rise." Because the truth is, you were never behind. You were being crowned. Quietly, privately, supernaturally. God was adorning you with wisdom, wrapping you in discernment, strengthening your spirit, sharpening your clarity. While others chased positions, you became postured. And now, the transfer is not just wealth, it's weight. The kind of spiritual gravity that causes others to adjust in your presence. Not out of fear, but out of recognition. The moment this miracle becomes visible, you will notice the shift. Not because you'll feel bigger, but because things around you will start responding differently. The closed doors won't just open, they'll swing wide. The overlooked gifts in your life won't just be acknowledged, they'll be sought out. The ideas you once had to explain will now be funded without hesitation. This is what the transfer does. It removes resistance. But that's not all. The shock will intensify when others realize that nothing they did could stop what God designed. There are people who tried to delay your rise by withholding opportunity, controlling narratives, questioning your anointing. And yet here you are, still rising, still chosen, still marked. Because when God transfers, He doesn't check in with people. He moves with authority. That's what this moment is. A divine flex. A reminder to the natural world that the supernatural still reigns supreme. That heaven still has the final word. That miracles don't need permission. And you, yes, you, have been selected as the recipient of a move that will break patterns, challenge expectations, and redefine outcomes. And don't be surprised if your miracle doesn't look like what others expected. Because God is not in the business of cliché. He's in the business of custom. This transfer is tailor-made. It's been woven into your life with surgical precision. That's why it's going to fit you perfectly, even if it confuses others. They weren't supposed to understand. They weren't called to carry it. You were. Chosen one, what's coming to you is not just for now, it's for next. This miracle is building momentum not just for your breakthrough, but for those assigned to come through the doors you open. That's why it's so heavy. That's why it's so radical. Because your obedience has ripple effects beyond your own story. God didn't bless you for your comfort. He blessed you for confirmation. To confirm that the path of faith is not in vain. To confirm that divine order always overrides chaos. To confirm that the last shall be first, not out of pity, but out of prophecy. And here's the most powerful part. When this miracle manifests, it will feel familiar.